Okay, everybody, hello. My name is Michael Bittoni. I'm an attorney with Callagy Law's New York Medical Revenue Recovery Unit. Welcome to the second in our series of webinars about New York no-fault. The topic today is going to be the physician fee schedule, and I'm going to share with you 3 tips for decoding and destroying cryptic EOBs. So it is often said, or has been said, that the Holy Roman Empire was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. Similarly, explanations of benefits often don't explain very much and don't necessarily clearly show how they benefit the provider. Fortunately, there are laws and processes in place for you to be able to understand them and feel empowered when you get EOBs from insurance companies, and I'm going to show you a couple of them today. It's important to note that a lot of our New Jersey providers may be unfamiliar with the New York fee schedule, and you may be dealing with it for the first time this year. That's because the regulations in New York were recently changed. Beginning on January 23rd of 2018, this year, the New York fee schedule applies to all out-of-state treatment. It used to be the case that the New Jersey fee schedule would apply, and the New Jersey fee schedule is really great. It's a chart, and it shows you your CPT code, and it shows you how much the code costs, and there's a little bit of complexity, but usually it's pretty easy to use. The New York fee schedule isn't like that. It's more complicated the first time you look at it, but if you have a coding background, it's something that you can understand pretty quickly. This means that when you get EOBs that are completely different from what you're used to in New Jersey, you can understand this, and you don't have to look at these EOBs and say, what's going on here? I don't understand. This is very frustrating. Let's convert that feeling of frustration into a feeling of empowerment by learning some of the basics about the fee schedule. So our first key is, first, you do not have to accept an EOB that is absolutely not helpful. If there is no information in the EOB that shows anything about how this claim was paid, you don't have to accept it. What do you do in order to get the information that you need? That can be a little bit more complicated. But first, I'd like to see how many people have had the experience of looking at an EOB, particularly this year, and having no idea how the insurance company came up with these numbers. So you can just say yes in the chat screen, or I've received EOBs, I don't know what's going on, they don't make any sense. They say they're paid according to all kinds of stuff that I've never heard of before. Has anyone had that experience? And if you'd like to ask specific questions, you're more than welcome to, and I'll be sure to address it when we're talking about the New York physician fee schedule. Okay, so if you do have questions, feel free to ask them at any time. I'll be monitoring the chat window. But let me address some of the basic elements. I mentioned that you don't have to accept an EOB that tells you absolutely nothing, and that you can get the information that you need. There is a legal requirement that insurance companies have to substantiate the calculation of the rates that they pay you. In arbitration and litigation, it's usually pretty easy for attorneys to get this information, because if insurance companies don't give it to us, then they usually won't be able to get an arbitrator or a judge to uphold the rates that they have paid you, if any. On the other hand, getting this information in the claims process can be somewhat more difficult. You can try talking to the claims adjuster, and that conversation is going to be more productive if you understand some of the basics about the New York fee schedule. So Michelle is saying, yes, you've had that experience. It happens a lot. So today we're going to start to demystify what's going on with these EOBs. All right, so let's start looking at the fee schedule itself. The New York fee schedule, in contrast to New Jersey, is not available for free online, at least the physician fee schedule. EAPG, the facility fee schedule, is, and we'll be talking about that next week on Monday. You do have to buy it. It's not super expensive. The volume is about $80, and I will send everybody a link to that volume after this webinar. You can get a physical copy of it on paper, and you can also get it on CD. So if your computers don't have CD drives anymore, you're going to need a way to figure out how to load that CD. But you can get everything electronically as well. So let me show you the physical file, and I'll introduce you to it. And it's not so bad. So let me show you. After you place your order, you'll get a single 3-ring binder. It's got a few hundred pages in it, and most of it is just charts and tables. And once you know how to read the charts and tables, that's basically it. If you've got a coding background, this is something you can basically teach yourself. There are instructions in the volume, and the essential process for figuring out how to pay CPT codes under the New York Physician Fee Schedule is somewhat friendly if you've been doing this for a little while. If you choose to order an electronic copy, which I strongly recommend, you'll get a CD. Something to be aware of, when you load the files from the CD, it's going to be in a text file, a .txt file, something that will open on Notepad. You can get a lot of really great use out of this if you load that txt file into a spreadsheet. Once you, for starters, okay, remember, if you need to find out how an insurance company is paying these your codes and they don't give you any information, talk to the adjuster, but you want to be prepared. So, okay, order your copy of the fee schedule, get the electronic version. You'll get a lot more use out of it than the paper version, but the files don't immediately show you how to use them. You can load them into a spreadsheet. If anybody has questions about how to do that, you can contact me directly and I'll walk you through it. If you make your own customized version, which I can teach you if you don't already know how to do, it's going to be an invaluable resource. Here at Callagy Law, we made our own customized spreadsheet to track the New York Physician Fee Schedule. We use it every single day. It's really helpful, and it doesn't take that much time to figure out what's going on in each claim. So I'll show you what the charts look like on paper, and then I'll show you how we customized it here in-house. And then I'll talk to you about what's going on. So first key, to stick with our 3 keys for understanding these EOBs. Number 1, you don't have to accept an EOB that says nothing. Number 2, this is something that you can do yourself. And now that's what we're going to talk about. You want to make sure that you understand what's going on before you talk to your adjuster, because when you talk to the adjuster, you want to come to that phone call from a position of knowledge and a position of power. And let's face it, the adjusters are really busy. And if you can learn how to use this fee schedule really well, you're going to know way more than that adjuster. And you're going to have power on that call, and you'll be able to talk about it in the language of the fee schedule, and you'll have a better chance of getting what you want before you even have to think about sending the claim to arbitration or litigation. In part because of the complexity of because of the appearance of complexity in the fee schedule, there are a lot of underpayments, and this will help you to spot these issues and potentially resolve them in the claims process. Okay, so let's take a look at the printed version. When you open up your binder, you'll see that there are different tabs according to treatment specialty. I don't know if you can see it on your computer screens here, but there's a tab for surgery, a tab for anesthesia, a tab for radiology, and so on. And when you open up to each section, you're just going to see a bunch of charts. These charts are actually really great. And I'm going to show you how to use them, but I'll show you on the electronic version. Again, this is not something that you can purchase. It's something that we customized in-house. But once you purchase your electronic version, I can show you how to make it. Okay, so here is our customized version of the fee schedule. And there are 2 essential elements to figuring out how to pay for a particular line item. The first thing that you need to do is look up your CPT code. So let's say we are dealing with surgical monitoring, and our CPT code is 95920. So first we look up our CPT code in the fee schedule, and then we look up the RVU. That's the first number that we need, and we are going to have to do some basic arithmetic calculation for each CPT code, but it's just basic arithmetic. It's not super complicated. RVU, and if you have a coding background, you may be familiar with this, stands for relative value unit. That is jargon. It's basically just an interpretation of how intense the procedure is. The RVU is a summary of things like how many medical professionals are required to render the service, how long the service takes, the complexity of the service, and a bunch of different things. And then it's assigned a single numerical value. Essentially, it is kind of like an hourly rate where different procedures are given a different rate based on those factors. Next, we need to know the conversion factor, and this is more jargon. A conversion factor is multiplied against the RVU, and that gets you your rate for a specific CPT code. So let's start keeping track of this, because I know when we're dealing with jargon, it can sound really complicated, but it's really not. We're just multiplying two numbers against each other, and then we get a result, and that's the rate for our code. So we start with our RVU, and then we multiply it by, our conversion factor. And then we get our result. So I will change the size of these columns. Okay, so, and let's actually add a column for our CPT code as well. So we're looking at 99520, I think. Yeah, so 99520, we look up our relative value unit, which is a measure of the intensity of the procedure, and we see in this case that it's 41.09. So let's put that into our calculation sheet, 41.09, and our operation is going to be multiplication. Then we look up the conversion factor. So what the heck is a conversion factor? A conversion factor is a dollar value that depends on the geographical region of a medical provider and the specialty to which the CPT code belongs. So when you buy your fee schedule, you're going to get a list of all of the specialties into which CPT codes are sorted under the New York fee schedule. And so you look in this chart to see where your CPT code falls. You figure out what specialty it belongs to. Then you look up the specialty in your conversion factor chart. And this is customized. I just manually typed it in from the printed volume. And then you figure out what geographical region you're in, and that gives you your conversion factor. I have another chart that I made. Again, this is just typed from the printed volume. Most New Jersey providers and New York City providers are going to be in Region 4. That's the highest paid region under the New York Physician Fee Schedule. So we won't look too closely at this today, but if anybody is on the call from upstate New York and you have questions about that, please feel free to contact me directly. So we'll be using Region 4 for all of our examples. And in this case, we're looking at 99520, which is let's see, so we look at our chart here and we see that 99520 falls under medicine. So we're in Region 4 and we're dealing with a medicine code. So we see that our conversion factor is going to be $8.45. So let's go back to our calculation sheet and type in 8.45. And that's basically it. So we multiply our RVU, which is a measure of the intensity of the procedure, by a conversion factor, which we figure out based on your geographical region and the specialty of the CPT code. And that's it. It's just basic arithmetic. So we see that the complete rate for this code is, excuse me. $347.21. Keep in mind that some CPT codes do have PC-TC splits. If you have a code where that's applicable, for example, if you're billing only for the technical component, then you'll just need to add an additional column for your PC-TC split. But it's basic arithmetic. If we're dealing with 95920 and we're billing only for the professional component, we'll multiply by 80%. Let's add that into our formula, and we get our result. So that's 277.77. Now, insurance companies, when they have to defend the reduction to your bill, actually have to produce this stuff. If they don't produce it, they cannot get their fees upheld in most instances. So if you understand how to do this and you understand what all of these words mean, you can get on the phone with an adjuster and say, hey, I checked the RVU, I checked the conversion factor, I checked the PC-TC split, here's the math. You didn't pay this correctly. You're going to come from a position of power, and you'll have a good chance of getting the adjuster to order a new fee audit or to take a second look at the claim if you think there's been an underpayment. So what's our third key? First, you don't have to accept EOBs that tell you absolutely nothing. Second, it's something that you can train yourself to do. It's available for purchase online. And third, this is something that you can do on your own. And you can use this to have leverage over an adjuster who is probably handling way too many cases and doesn't understand the fee schedule that well themselves. There are some introductory rules to the fee schedule called ground rules, and these deal with some of the complexity that is in fact in the fee schedule. I'm not going to go over them in too much detail on this webinar, but I will highlight a few that are very important. When you're dealing with DME, there is a completely separate DME fee schedule. You can find it if you just Google NY no fault DME fee schedule. I'll actually also send that out along with a link to the physician fee schedule so that everybody knows where to find it. In addition, sometimes a physician might bring certain supplies that a facility would supply in most instances. And if a physician is bringing and paying for and providing certain medical supplies, then the physician usually can bill for those. Finally, you'll see that there are some codes that do not have an RVU assigned. You might see that there's a blank in the table, and you might see that there's a little BR where the RVU should be, which is a number. BR is more jargon. It stands for by report. Usually, that just means you have to submit an invoice. Although there is a separate DME fee schedule, you may find some codes in the physician fee schedule that are BR, and just submit your documentation for the cost of those codes, and you should be fine. On the last webinar that we did, we went over good billing and verification practices, and you may have received verification requests from insurance companies asking you for invoices and other documentation of expenses and claims. It's very important that you provide this information, and that way you can make sure that you get your claims paid correctly and properly. Even if you've already supplied this during the claim submission process, responding to verification requests is very, very important, and you can protect yourself just by responding. Even if the insurance company already has the information, just say, hey, we already sent it to you. Here's a copy of the communication we used to send it to you, and you'll protect yourself. So let's do one more example on our spreadsheet for calculating rates for different codes, and then I'll take questions. I understand this is a lot of information in a short period of time, but once you actually sit down with the fee schedule and you start calculating this on your own, you'll get it very, very quickly. So let's go to does anybody have a code that you want to look at? Do you have questions about specific codes? I would love it if somebody would suggest a code and we can go over it. And you can suggest the code in the chat window. Okay, if you want to suggest a particular code, feel free, and I'll keep an eye on the chat window, and we can talk about it. Let's talk about the rate for 62310. This is a steroid injection. It's a pretty common code. Note that if you're using the updated codes to bill, you can do something called crosswalking. Since the AMA updated certain codes for epidural, 62321, yeah, there we go. Melissa, thank you. We get a lot of questions about this code. I know for a fact that there are certain insurance companies that will blanket deny 62321, and they'll say that it's not in the fee schedule. This is totally wrong, and going back to the keys for dealing with these cryptic EOBs, let's figure out how to deal with that. The first is you don't have to accept the insurance company's interpretation. They do have a legal obligation to substantiate the calculation of their fees. What's our second key? All of this is available for purchase online. And our third key is that you can do it. So let's say you get an EOB that says 62321 isn't on the fee schedule, we can't pay it. That is absolutely not correct. 62321 is payable. And it brings up an important issue. What do you do when something is completely not on the fee schedule? That's something that has a number of different answers depending on the specific reason that it's not on the fee schedule. In the case of 62321, that's a code that the AMA updated because it felt that it wasn't properly valued under the older code. Now you have the ability to put 62321 on your bill, and you can indicate imaging for the injection separately, and that gives you the ability to bill a little bit more accurately. Since the fee schedule is not updated as often as AMA updates CPT codes, it means that there are some codes that are currently used that are not listed on the fee schedule, but importantly, the procedure itself is on the fee schedule. If the procedure itself is on the fee schedule, in general, that means the code is going to be payable according to the procedure code that is on the fee schedule. So 62321 is an update for 62310. And when we crosswalk a code, it means that we start with the newer code and we use an older code that is in the fee schedule that represents the same procedure for purposes of calculating the New York no-fault rate. Once we figure that out, we do the same basic calculation. We check up we find our CPT code, which we know is 62310. Then we figure out our RVU and our conversion factor, our PCTC split if applicable, and then we do basic arithmetic. So let's look at the spreadsheet. We start with 62321, we crosswalk it to 62310. Our RVU is 1.73. So we have 62321, and I'm going to make a little note over here that we're crosswalking this to 62310. So our RVU is 1.73. And then we look up our conversion factor. First, we have to look up what specialty our code is in. So 62321 is going to be in our surgical codes. And we know that we're either New Jersey or New York City providers on this conference call. So we'll look at region 4. So we know that our conversion factor is $229.04. So we enter that for our conversion factor. PCTC split not applicable in this instance. Now we just do basic arithmetic. 1.73 times 229.04. Oh, sorry. And there we go. Now you may look at this rate and say, "Wow, that's incredibly low," and that's true. One of the reasons that the fee schedule is so low is that it was initially developed for use in the workers' compensation context in New York. This is actually the workers' compensation fee schedule, and the Department of Financial Services has decided to adopt the workers' compensation fee schedule for use in the no-fault context. Car insurance rates in New York are fairly high, and the insurance industry has been very effective at arguing that the workers' compensation fee schedule, which was adopted based on strict cost controls, should be adopted in the no-fault context in order to get premiums lower. Whether that actually resulted in a reduction to premiums as the insurance industry predicted is something I'm not so sure about, but it is what we have. We do have to understand that the change from the New Jersey fee schedule to the New York fee schedule will result in reductions in a lot of the procedures that we perform commonly and where we're used to the New Jersey rates. However, you may find that insurance companies are paying even lower than the fee schedule really directs. If that's the case, then use the 3 keys that we went over today. First, you don't have to accept EOBs that tell you absolutely nothing. Second, you can buy this online. And third, this is something that you can learn to do, and you can talk to the adjuster and come from a position of knowledge. Make sure that you understand RVUs and conversion factors, and then read the ground rules as well. The ground rules will explain to you how to deal with modifiers and some of the more complex coding issues that can affect how a specific CPT code is paid. All right, does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you so much for attending. If you have questions about the New York fee schedule, physician fee schedule, you're more than welcome to reach out to me directly. My telephone number is 201-261-1700. Again, that's 201-261-1700. You can ask for me. My name is Michael Bittoni, and you can also send me an email. My email address is mbittoni@callagylaw.com. I will type it into the chat window, and I'll also say it here on the video. So there you have it. I'm popping up as Sean Callagy, our founding partner. By the way, I'll use a phonetic alphabet to spell my email address. It's Michigan, Bravo, India, Tango, Ontario, November, India @callagylaw.com. And I see a question from Rob. Is the workers' comp fee schedule identical to no fault? In almost all instances, yes. The fee schedule was initially developed for use in the New York workers' compensation context, and the Department of Financial Services, which is the New York regulatory agency that covers no fault, has adopted the workers' compensation fee schedule in full. So if you get an EOB that says this was paid according to the workers' compensation fee schedule, that's correct. But remember, the date is important. January 23rd, 2018 is the date on which New York policies will apply the New York fee schedule to treatment rendered in New Jersey. So if you're seeing that claims from before that date are paid according to the New York fee schedule, that's fairly common. That is incorrect. You should get the New Jersey fee schedule there. Also note that the regulation change that I mentioned does have some exceptions, and it's possible that you may have some claims where the New Jersey fee schedule will still apply. The specific reason that the regulation was changed was to prevent providers from having an office visit in New York and then telling patients to go to a facility in New Jersey specifically to get around the fee schedule. In some instances, New Jersey residents who are for some reason covered under a New York policy may still qualify for the New Jersey fee schedule anyway, notwithstanding the new change to the regulation. But there are some complexities to that. And please don't rely on my general description of the rule to figure out what's going on in specific cases. If you need advice about how to figure out which fee schedule applies in specific cases, you'll need to contact me directly. Okay, so does anyone have any other questions? Okay, you're more than welcome to call me or email me if you think of questions that you didn't have on this call. And again, I strongly recommend that you not just buy the physician fee schedule, but you should also get the electronic version, and you can convert that into a spreadsheet that will make your life a lot easier and give you a lot of power when you are talking to adjusters when you believe a claim has been underpaid. If you need any help with figuring out how to convert the text files you'll get on the CD into a spreadsheet, give me a ring. Maybe we could do a 15-minute webinar on that. It's a really, really useful tool, and it's not that difficult to do, even if you don't have much of a background in Excel. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been really awesome. Monday's webinar will cover the facility fee schedule. It's absolutely filled with jargon, and that's actually an opportunity. I have not yet met an adjuster or an attorney that really understands how to use the facility fee schedule, but it's not that complicated. It's just that there is absolutely no documentation about it, but Callagy Law invested a significant amount of effort in figuring out how to use the files that are posted online with no documentation. And we created our own documentation, and I will share it with all of you for free. So I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to give us a lot of leverage when we talk to carriers about the facility fee schedule, and I want that knowledge going far and wide. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great afternoon.